Okay guys, we're now going to do the pre-start check. We work on the word power. The acronym word of power is P is for petrol, O for oils, W for water, E for electrical and R for rubber. So the first thing we always want to do is make sure that we've got enough fuel for today's journey. Hop in the vehicle, start the car up and check your fuel gauge. Make sure that you do have enough. But all of a sudden on the dash you'll see there's a little warning symbol that popped up. It could be like a little bottle itself having little teardrops on there or squiggly lines. That means we have water with the fuel. So to fix that problem, what we do is we pop the bonnet up, come to the fuel filter itself. Now with the fuel filter it has a little tap underneath which also sits next to a sensor which allocates that it's got water. With the tap underneath we open the tap and we drain the water and fuel. Make sure you do catch it all, you don't want it to go on the ground. Once you've drained it all, close the tap back off, come to the top of the filter. Now every vehicle has a different priming system. This one here has like a little black knob on top. Put your hand on top, give it a few pumps until you feel a firm resistance. If you do not feel that firm resistance, you have air in the system. Once you try to start the car and the air gets into the fuel pump, you'll have very, very hard difficulties with trying to start it. Right, so from that there guys, we have rectified that problem. Now we're going to go to the oils. So when we go check the engine oils, the brake fluids and all that, we always must firstly make sure the car's on level ground. Once the car's on level ground, you don't want it facing up or facing down because you will definitely get false readings. So once you're ready to check the engine oil, make sure that you have a suitable rag to check it. As you can see guys, I have one handy located in the back of the vehicle. From here we pull the dipstick out, we'll give it a wipe and we'll check and make sure there's no physical damages or markings on the actual dipstick. From that there now guys, we put it back into its chamber, make sure it's all the way in, pull it back out and we check the level. Always check the level on the side. Now in this case here the oil level is a little bit low, but it's alright for today's journey. If it's ever too low, always notify your supervisor of any issues that you come across. Make sure when you put it back in, it's all set in correctly, you don't want dust going inside the engine. From that there, we know the engine's all good. We'll go over to this side of the car and we'll check the brake master cylinder. So we come to the brake master cylinder. We always check that the level is always up on a maximum mark. It will drop as wear and tear with the brakes that goes down. But if we ever need to top it up, look at top of the cap and it will tell you what grade it is. This one here says .4. If you can't find the specifications of what brake fluid to use, definitely check your owner's manual. It will give you all the information that you want. So once you know that's all okay, you have a physical look around the brake master cylinder, make sure there's no leaks. You can move on to the next stage. We'll go to the actual power steering fluid. Okay, now we're at the power steering fluid. All you've got to do is take the cap off the power steering fluid, pull the cap off and virtually have a good look at the level itself. Always make sure it's up around the upper level mark on the maximum, and if you can, just put your finger in there and have a look at it. You see the fluids is all clear, it's looking good. If it's black, it's actually meaning that the power steering fluid is burnt and it needs to be flushed out. Right, so once we've done all that there, we have done all the oils checks, we're going now to the water system. Okay, now we're on to the water. So the first thing we're going to look with the watering side of power is at the cooling system. Now with the cooling system itself, every vehicle, modern vehicles today have what they call the coolant reservoir. If you look at today's cars, Mitsubishi runs a blue coolant, Toyotas run a red coolant, D-Maxes run a green coolant. If we ever need to top these up, we should never ever mix coolants together. If you need to top it up, use water, use the correct coolant, or if you haven't got any of that available, let your supervisor know again. This case here guys, we have a look again, we have a low mark and a full mark. This is quite good, it's sitting on the full level mark, so we can move on from the reservoir. I don't need to take the cap off. Once we come around to this side, we have the radiator cap. Now, with the radiator cap itself, you've got to be very, very careful. You never want to take the cap off if the engine is hot. If it is hot, you get very good chances of scarring yourself or have serious burns. So what we always do before we check the radiator, make sure it's always cold. Best time to check it, it's the first thing in the morning. Best thing is, well, feel the pressure on the actual radiator hoses. If there is a bit of pressure there, you know you should never open the cap itself. Once we've gone through all that, guys, we check the hoses, make sure there's no water leaks, corrosion, anything like that there, we can move on to the good old windscreen. Windscreen washers now, you must always check. They all got to be operational, from your washer bottle being full to your washer jets. It is now illegal if your washer jets do not work on the windscreens. The police department are dishing out or handing out yellow stickers, so I advise you to actually check your own vehicles as well. So make sure you got water in the washer bottle, make sure all your jets work on your windscreen, and you'll be safe from there. Okay, now we're on to the electrical side. We have the battery sitting right in front of me here now. This battery itself is a maintenance battery. Batteries sometimes today, you look at vehicles, don't have these caps, meaning that it's a maintenance-free battery. This case here, guys, we're looking at this battery, we need to check the water levels, or they call the acid levels. The correct procedure of doing that is wear your safety PPE equipment, safety goggles, gloves, etc. When we take the caps off itself, we always want to make sure that the cell is full above, the water is above the actual cell. You do not see a dry cell. If you do see a dry cell, it needs to be topped up. You can use distilled water. Once you've done that, guys, make sure that all your caps back on. Okay, now we've done all this, we can actually close the bonnet. We are moving now to what we got the electrical side. Okay, we're on to electrical. All right, always check your indicators, but don't check your indicators with your hazard lights. Today's cars have two separate relays, one for the hazard lights, one for the indicators. If you check your indicators by using hazard lights, you can go down the road, next minute indicator left, and find that indicator will stay on. That's caused from a faulty relay. Always checking separately. We do have our park lights, headlights, high beams, which you always must check as well on both sides. If you have here, but this one doesn't, driving lights, make sure they work too. To the back of the vehicle, we always check our park lights, our brake lights, reverse lights, indicators as well. On top of the vehicle, if you have beacons, you check your beacons, you check your reverse beeper, all those type of things. Make sure they all work. As again, guys, if they don't work, notify your supervisor or your mechanic. Okay, guys, now we're looking at the rubber. We're looking at the tyre itself, and the first thing we always want to check is check the tread on the tyres. Make sure it is fit for purpose. By doing that there, we have little indicators on the side like a little arrow. That little arrow will show indicators on each tread of the tyre to tell you the limit that it's gone down to. If it's level to that indicator, the tyre needs to be replaced. Always check the condition of the tyre as well. Make sure there's no cracks or splits. The tread itself is the most important part of our game in four-wheel drive. It is the strongest part of the tyre, the weakest part is that sidewall. So when you drive in harsh, rocky conditions, always make sure that you put your tyres over the rocks. If you decide to go around it, there's a very good chance that you can put a split on there, which you never want that to happen. From that there, guys, we also definitely want to check our tyre pressures. Make sure the tyre pressure is to what your company requirements are. Once we've done all that, guys, we definitely check around the outside perimeter of the rim itself, make sure there's no cracks in between the wheel nuts. If the wheel nuts have moved by the indicators, they need to be tightened as well. Once you've done all that, guys, we've moved on, we've completed our pre-start check. Like I mentioned before, if you have any faults, most definitely let your supervisor or mechanics know. Thank you.